Welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Listen, this is where we go around the state each and every week to catch up on the latest fishing news. What's biting, where the bait's moving, what kind of seasons are opening and closing, exactly what's happening. We got the preeminent fishermen stationed around the state, and they keep us up to date every week. Hey, we hope you enjoy our podcast, and if you do, please subscribe to it. We'd love to have your comments. What do you like? What don't you like? Maybe you want to get rid of me. We want to hear it all. The Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast is brought to you each and every week by Yamaha, by Tournament Master Chum, by Nosara Paradise Rentals, and by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat, spay, and offshore hybrid boats? You need to check out youngboats.com. Now, we're going to start our journey tonight with a little trip to paradise. Oh, my goodness. As a bill fisherman, there's no place I love more than Nosara, Costa Rica. That's where our buddy, Captain Craig Sutton, runs Nosara Paradise Rentals. Let's see what's going on down there. Craig, are you with us?
Yes, sir, Captain Ricky. Right here, buddy.
Man, it's good to hear from you. God, I got to tell you, we feel so bad for ourselves here in Florida because maybe we can't go exactly where we want to. We can't get with our buddies, and we can't watch Gator football. Boy, they're feeling it down in Costa Rica, aren't they?
Oh, my gosh. The whole country shut down, even to the point of a driving restriction. Now, it was after 8 o'clock at night. Now they changed it last week. It's after 10. Between 10 and 5 in the morning, you cannot be on the road. You get caught, it's like a $900 fine, which is a huge fine for a Central American.
Holy smokes. You think your guys...
That's like about a $4,000 fine here.
Yeah, well, I don't want either one of them, so if that makes any difference. You think your guys are about ready to get back fishing?
Oh, my God. They did a bunch of motor work to the Explorer, and they're going to drop it in the water tomorrow at the low tide and run it a little bit, but I bet you there's 5 or 6 guys on that boat wanting to wet a line.
Yeah.
They've been laying blocks, pouring cement, and they're sick of it,
Yep.
But they're working, and we're still paying them. So you know what? They're thankful for that, and I'm thankful to have it.
I know you are. It reminds me of the old story about my grandson who would spend all day casting in his backyard, trying to hook the fence, trying to hook a tree, do anything to make it feel like a fish.
Well, I'm there with him. I haven't fished here in almost 2 weeks, over 2 weeks now.
Golly, and you fished hard this winter. You've done well. You've spent a lot of days out at the ledge, and for those people that don't know Jacksonville at all, that's 67 miles to where you set out. So that's a pretty good run from my house, Craigie.
It's a good run, but the tank is up for it, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Arena, man, it's a tough hombre. It goes right through them old sloppy ocean.
Yep, no doubt. All right, when do they start back? What's the latest you're hearing from the Costa Rican government?
Well, I just talked to Javier down there, and we talked to Todd Staley with the government, the FECOP, last week, and they're thinking maybe June 1st.
Okay.
But they're already starting to open up the country and businesses. Now, all the businesses are going to be able to open next week, but they're going to start having flights in maybe on the 1st, but for sure by the 15th, if they don't have any spikes or any other problems.
Man, I hope not. I tell you what.
Man, it's just, 26% of their GDP comes from tourists.
Yep. But people need to understand, I am an August guy, and I think that August is the time to be there. And that's when we had that tremendous trip last year. And if you want to fish that July, August, September time frame, they need to get a hold of you now, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And Ricky, I was looking at those dates for us late in August, and man, we need to get on the calendar pretty quick, brother.
Yep. I know what you mean.
It might not be a place for a stay unless you want to stay in a pup jet and fish on a kayak.
I'll do that. I'll curl up on the harvester. I'll be fine.
I'm not so sure Debbie would.
Yeah, that's true, too. All right. Well, listen, buddy, we sure appreciate it. We're going to look forward to talking with you next week when we are getting so close to opening back up.
All right, Ricky. Look forward to it, bro.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, muchacho.
Our thanks to Craig Sutton for getting us a word from Nosara Paradise Rentals in Costa Rica, where, oh my goodness, we think we've had a hard time with the COVID restrictions here in the States. Those people down there are really struggling, so we got to remember to keep them in our prayers. But let's come back home. Let's start our trip around Florida. We'll start it up in the northeast corner with our buddy Captain David Borries. David, how are you?
Hey, Captain Ricky, doing fine, buddy.
Good. Tell me about the inshore fishing around Jacksonville this week.
Well, this week we had some windy days, but it didn't keep everybody off the water inshore. Offshore, I think, was a different story. But talking to the inshore guys, it sounds like there's a consistency that everybody's finding quality fish. There wasn't a lot of numbers caught, but the fish they caught were quality. And it's been interesting to pick other captains' brains and find out how they're fishing and where they're fishing. And what I'm finding is a lot of the guys are fishing those deep ledges along the channel, but they've started slipping back into the creeks and fishing the flats, and they are finding fish moving back into the creeks. Now, of course, most of them are all saying the same thing. When we go back in the creek, we're not just fishing the entire creek. We're fishing deep holes back in the creek. And for Northeast Florida, back in these creeks, a deep hole might be 5 feet deep. Saw a few flounder this week, not a lot, but, hey, a little better than weeks before. Trout, it sounds like, have been more in the St. Johns River and down towards St. Augustine, down around the inlets down there. Along the intercoastal, most of the guys are saying, not so much on the trout, a few here and there, but no big numbers of trout. We're just not seeing it. Talked with Captain Tony today, and he did see a couple of trout this week that were over the 20-inch mark. So he was excited about that, and he caught those in the river. But talking to the guys down towards St. Augustine, they sound like they've been having a phenomenal bite down there. But down there, they're talking most of their fish are back in the creeks, where the guys up north of the St. John's and in the Pablo Creek area are saying some along the creek and some back in the creeks, or some along the ditch, I should say. Most of all, it's been a pretty good week. We got this new moon coming up. I'm excited about that. Business seems to be back to normal. Most of the captains are all reporting good business, so that's a real positive thing. I'd love to hear that. But what's been happening offshore, Ricky?
Oh, David, it is the cruelest May I think I've ever seen. The big boats, and only the biggest of the big boats, the Jody Lynn 2 and the Big Endless Summer, have been able to get to the ledge, and it is crawling with big mahi.
Is that due to the wind, Rick, the weather?
That's exactly why. That's what makes it so cruel. There are so many fish there. This is the best month of the year. We are in the best 2-week stretch of the year, and the wind won't quit blowing. And it's just not fair. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. The Jody Lynn 2 the other day had, I think, 24 up to 51 pounds.
Wow.
And the interesting part to me was Mark had like the best 5 or 6 fish on the front row of the pictures. And David, I almost couldn't tell which one was the 51. I mean, there were some monsters. I'm just like, why? And it just doesn't seem to lay down. I just talked to Craig Sutton, of course, who lives in Jacksonville, who's our Nosara guy. He's been sitting on go every day for 2 weeks, hadn't untied from the dock. It's about to kill him. But and that's been the extent of it. Now, there's plenty of kingfish closer to shore. The guys have been able to get closer to shore. There's plenty of kingfish. There's pogies on the beach. There's a few cobia on the beach. But all in all, the fishing's been dictated by the wind, and there's just been too much of it.
Yeah, but I think that's all going to change. Hopefully, we'll have a better week this week with the winds. Hopefully, things will lay down, and we can get back to normal fishing. I always preach to everybody, be safe out there this weekend, especially this weekend. It's going to be extremely busy with Memorial Day coming up. So keep your head on a swivel, stay safe. And look in the back creeks now. Look back in the creeks. These fish are moving back. Some of this boat traffic. We had the Trump for the boaters for Trump this past weekend. That was a mob of boats. Some guys are saying, "Man, I think the fish along the ditch are all buggered up and they're all spooked up." So, start fishing the back creeks. Look for those deep holes and fish those ledges, people.
You got it, David. You let me know when they start crawling the bank now, you hear?
All right, Rick, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm waiting.
It won't be long. Thank you, David. We appreciate it.
All right, tight lines, Ricky.
Captain David Voorhees with a great Northeast Florida report. Now let's hop down the road a little bit, get on 95, and pull over in East Central, where our buddy Jim Ross has been on top of the fish. Jim, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. Any fish down there?
We've got some fish. I have a question for you, though.
Yes, sir.
What is going on with the pogies this year? Have you guys got pogies up on the northeast section of the state?
I don't see how that's any of your concern.
Well, we need some because
I'm sorry.
like we were hoarding the cobia, and now you're hoarding the pogies.
What you get?
Is my understanding.
See what you get there, big guy? If you'd have let the cobia come through the gate, we would have left it open. But no. So,
well, I tell you what, it's we're looking for bait fish. Typically, by this time of the year, we have a pretty good supply of pogies down here on the beach, and of course, the bigger king mackerel have a tendency to move into the beach when that happens. And then you've got the big jacks, and you've got the tarpon, and you've got the bonitas and the sharks, and all those other things that go along with it, all those fun things that we like to go catch and pull on. But it's really, really interesting that we don't have a lot of bait fish right now. And of course, it's been a little windy. There's not been a lot of people that have been able to get out, but the guys that have gotten out have, all been saying the same thing: no bait. And so we're having to run to the reefs to actually catch some fish right now, because the beach, which typically this time of the year starts to fire up, just hasn't quite done it yet.
Jim, now that's interesting. We've got pogies. They're not real big. They're pretty small, but we've consistently had pogies. Not in huge numbers, but consistent. You can count on catching your share for bait usually, but that's interesting that they haven't made it down there yet. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No. If you think about the logical progression of things, you typically think of things in the spring and summer, migrating from south to north up the beach, and we just haven't seen a whole lot of bait here. A couple of weeks ago, what was interesting, though, two and a half weeks ago, we were having those good beach days, and we even had guys catching king mackerel inside Port Canaveral. On the days that you couldn't get out, it didn't really matter because there was enough bait inside that the king mackerel had come inside and started to feed on them in there. I had one buddy of mine, Rodney Sayre, that actually caught 3. Now, this is obviously 2-week-old information, so he was willing to share it now.
I got a lot of buddies like that.
But here at Florida Sportsman, we try not to do that. We try to get you on something that's currently happening. And I'll tell you what is currently happening is our trout, the bite is still pretty good. And the Banana River and the Indian Rivers in particular seem to be holding the bigger numbers of bigger trout. The Mosquito Lagoon, there's one here and one there, mainly really, really shallow. But the Banana River and the Indian River around the Spoil Islands and anywhere where there's a drop-off, it seems like that seems to be the attraction last week and this week. And that 2 to 3 foot zone still seems to be the best place to find your trout right now. Not your quality trout. Now, you can catch those little shakers, those little dinks, pretty much all day long. Get out in 3, 4, 5 feet of water, and you can find them. But the bigger trout are holding in 2 to 3 feet, and typically around areas where there's some rock or some oyster or some docks, some form of hard structure that can go along with that particular depth contour along our lagoon system. And then the guys down to the south around Vero, around the moorings and up through about to Wabasso, those guys are finding that the snook and the trout are holding side by side with one another. So one cast, you may get a trout, the next you may get a snook. But once again, that particular depth range seems to be where those fish want to be.
Yeah. Now, is your offshore has been pretty well shut down like ours has?
Yeah, it's been pretty rough. There's guys that'll poke their nose out and they pretty much turn right around and come back
Jim,
in. But
Jim, this can't happen in May. We only get one May. If listen, we get a makeup this year. All right. If it's gonna blow the whole daggum month, then we get May 2nd. Next month will be May over again.
Yeah, we get a do-over. I'm all for it. I'm all for a do-over.
Jim, we always appreciate it so much. Now, give me one more time. Where was the area where the snook and trout were mingling together so well?
Well, from Vero up to about Wabasso, that seems to be a pretty good little area. That southern portion of the reporting area. Now, there are some Banana River snook and some Indian River snook up in the Melbourne, Satellite Beach, Cocoa Beach, and even into Rockledge area.
Gotcha.
But it seems like they're separate. They're not commingling like they are down in the southern part right now. And those fish are a little more tidally oriented down there.
Mm-hmm.
The trout, I should say. Snooker always seem to be tidally oriented. But those trout in the southern part of the region are a little more tidally oriented. And it seems like if the water has a good flow to it, so whatever way the wind is blowing, if it's blowing from the south, then if you get to the south side of like the Sebastian Inlet, those areas to the south, and the water's flowing out on an outgoing tide, and you've got the south wind, that's when the bite kicks in.
Perfect.
Also, switch it around. You put a north or an easterly type of a fetch on it, and then an incoming tide, and that seems to be when your bite's a little better. So those two key things will help you catch more fish this week.
Perfect. Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it so much. Please tell me that we can talk with you next week.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Rick.
Our thanks to Captain Jim Ross for bringing us a great report from East Central, where it's all been inshore because of the wind, but he said that the snook and trout fishing has been quite good. You want to fish on the lee side wherever the wind's coming from, hopefully in a moving current. Now, let's travel down to Stewart, one of my absolute favorite places, and check in with the captain of the chaos and the mayhem, John Earhart. John, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you, Cap. Tell me what's going on in Stewart.
Well, we fished offshore today. The seas are pretty calm. We started out bottom fishing and kingfishing. The kingfishing was just absolutely stellar down to the south. It was actually kind of hard to kingfish because there's a lot of commercial guys down there fishing bug reels, so they're trolling around. If you do decide to go down south and fish around the Lorraine Tower, there's a lot of kingfish down there right now. They're very easy to catch. You just got to make sure you give these commercial guys some room because they can be a little bit aggressive when you get in their circle. Fishing live baits has been plenty of good action with pilchards, greenies, sardines. But like I said, maybe just try and steer clear of the commercial guys if you can. But if you just can't stand it and you got to get in there with the fleet, you're going to get plenty of kingfish bites.
Yeah, but you know what? Let's keep in mind, too, that they are making a living, John, and that's hard work. And I'd want to be the last person to mess up their pattern if they had something good going on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The snapper fishing was pretty good today. We caught a bunch of lane snappers, 2 nice mangroves, caught a handful of muttons, but we only kept one of them. It seems like every mutton right now is 17 3/4 inches long. So, do your best to ven them and give them a good safe release so that hopefully they'll get to be 18 inches sooner rather than later.
No, you're exactly right. Exactly right. I'm sure you gave away your share to the sharks.
Yeah, we fed a few sharks, and then we actually caught a couple sharks. It looks like there's a lot of lemon sharks around right now, a lot of black tips, a few bulls. So definitely you want to be reeling these fish in as fast as you possibly can. I know it takes some of the fun out of it, but if you're trying to bring something home to eat, definitely get that fish up off the bottom and don't stop whining until he's boat side. Otherwise, a shark's probably going to take him away from you.
Gotcha. What's going on inshore?
Inshore's been pretty steady this week. Been catching a lot of keeper snook, a lot of jack crevalles. It seemed like a big push of jack crevalles came back through the river this week. We've been catching jacks up to 18, 20 pounds. They're chasing the pilchards around the river. There's still plenty of bait around. So if you see some pelicans diving or terns diving, chances are that's a good place to stop and catch bait before you go out inshore fishing for the day. We've even been catching a few larger cubera snappers in the river while we're targeting snook around docks, seawalls, and the bridges. It's going to be go-to places to get snook right now.
You mentioned that with the cuberas, and you mentioned larger. How big is a big cubera in the river down there?
A jumbo cubera in the river that you could actually catch would probably be 20, 25 pounds.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've hooked bigger cuberas than that in the river, but the problem is, most of the time we're using light tackle and light leaders, so it's hard to stop them before they get into a rock pile or go around a dock piling and snap you off.
Yeah, they're good at that. That's fascinating to me that you have them, and I'm glad to see you have them because it wasn't too long ago we had just about fished them out. The women's world record was caught right off Jacksonville many years ago now. How about 118? That's a good one, isn't it?
Holy smokes, that sounds like a backbreaker to me.
I don't have any fight with that fish. I don't have any argument with him at all. John, that's a great report. I certainly hope the wind stays down for you a while. We get some mahi and sailfish biting offshore, and we'll make sure and talk with you next week and get the word, if you will.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Cap.
See you, Rick.
Now, let's travel down to the crown jewel of Florida, Islamorada. That's where legendary captain Nick Stanczyk hangs out at his family's place, Bud and Mary's. Nick, are you with us?
How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to hear from you. Is life opening up at all in the Keys?
They made an announcement yesterday that June 1st, the Keys are going to reopen. I think hotels are going to 50% occupancy to start with, but looks like June 1st, the Keys will be open to business. I know a lot of fishermen down here will be happy about that.
I'll bet Nick Stanczyk's already booked on June 1st, didn't he?
I've been fishing some, been taking some locals, and I was booked up in June a while back. So
yeah, I'm sure.
We'll stay busy ourselves.
Yep. Tell me how the fishing's been.
I fished last weekend, and the swordfish was tough. We had one bite. We didn't get them. Caught a few mahi. But then I went up fishing a couple more days. We took the family out for a belated Mother's Day trip with my mom. Sarah's my wife. And then my brother and his wife went. They're all moms, and we caught some tuna yesterday. We caught some blackfin tuna. We caught some mahi and caught a couple tilefish. And then today I took a swordfish trip, and we made 2 drops and caught 2 fish. Nothing big. They were keepers. The biggest about 85 pounds. That was good to get back on the board with them. And we caught some nice blackfin in the jigs today. Had a handful of blackfin up to about 15 pounds. I had a barrel fish, a snowy grouper, and a couple dolphins.
Somebody's eating good tonight. I can promise you that.
Yep, they got a nice smorgasbord, red meat and white meat and whatnot.
Have you eaten a barrel fish, Nick?
I have, yeah. Some people love them, go crazy over them. If you overcook it, it gets kind of chewy, so the trick is not to overcook it. And it's like a thick white grouper fillet in a lot of people's opinion.
Oh, that's cool. Well, the trick on almost every fish is not to overcook it. I mean,
yeah, very well said.
Wahoo comes to mind. Wahoo, you've got a 30-second window. He's done. Now it's too late. I mean, that's about what it's like.
No good.
That's exactly right. Have you heard anything from your flats guys? What's going on inshore?
So my brother, Captain Rick, he fished with our friend, Captain Charles Hertel, and they went sight fishing the other day back by Flamingo and some of the islands, and they had a good day. I think they caught about 12 or 14 redfish, all tailing and cruising. So my brother's got a bay boat, so he's used to fishing a little deeper water. And they took our friend's smaller skiff out, and they caught some tailing redfish, sight fishing. So it was a cool change of pace for him, he said, and whatnot. A couple trout as well.
That's a lot of fun, Nick. We get to do that up in Northeast Florida in my home waters. They'll literally get back and get back with their whole backside of the water. I mean, it's just a great fishery.
Sure, I haven't seen it or done it in years myself, but I know you guys got up, and I know you guys get some really nice fish up there too. So these were not smaller fish, but still decent size for us. I think everybody enjoyed it, they said.
Well, it sounds to me like the fishing is good in Islamorada, and the fishing business is not far away. Sounds like we've turned a corner. Sure hope we can talk to you next week, Nick.
Yep, give me a call, and hopefully everything reopens June 1st, and then hopefully we got another good fishing report for you.
If people want to book, they should call Bud and Mary's, right?
Yeah, if they want to book with me, jump on my website, daytimeswordfish.com, on the email list. But if you just want to come down here and go fishing, check out Bud and Mary's Marina. Plenty of guys there to get you out.
Got it. Hey, thanks, Cap. We'll talk to you next week. Our thanks to Captain Nick Stanczyk. Gosh, they got to feel like they're on Gilligan's Island down there in Islamorada or something. It's been so long since anybody's been down there at all. But sounds like June 1st, the Keys are going to open back up, and Nick will be back in business. I know the fish won't be happy about that. All right, let's come on around the state. Now, we're going to start looking through the islands, and about the time we get to the 10,000th island, we will run into Captain Steve Dahl. How are you, Cap?
I'm doing fantastic. I got to tell you, though, with Nick's region opening up in the first, even my fish are scared of that guy.
Yeah. They think it's bad enough to get caught by you, but they don't even want to see anything to do with him.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Yep. He caught as many swordfish yesterday as I've caught in my life.
And it's unbelievable.
And oh, by the way, I'm about 1 million years old, so that's pretty impressive.
There you go.
What's going on in 10,000 Islands?
With our water clarity, the way we've had it, I mean, it looks like the Bahamas or just a beautiful flat in the Keys. Just this gin clear water. And typically our area really has some tannic water to it. People always ask, is that dirty? And I say, no, it's kind of like an iced tea color.
Right.
With some really good tides, now we're starting to see, obviously we're out of the winter tide stage, and we're seeing some really good water flow in the daytime hours. We're just seeing some of the most beautiful water. And they coincide every May with sight fishing opportunities on the beach for snook. And these are big breeder-sized female snook laid up on the sandbars. And the beauty is you don't even need a boat. I just want to touch on this is one really good opportunity throughout, Southwest Florida. The month of May, early parts of June, you can get up early before work. And, if you just want to, pack a rod in the car and go walk the beach, you'll literally see just silhouette of snook just kind of cruising the beach. And there's a whole subculture of guys that do it and gals. Take advantage of it because it really doesn't last all long. It's a 6 to 7 weeks, not quite 2 months. It is something else. I mean, if you like to sight fish, this is the time of year to do it. You really do have an opportunity to catch some mid-30 to upper 30-inch class snook, and there's no better way to look at them than to catch them.
Let me tell you something. I don't care what kind of fish it is. If you get to see it first, and you get to present a bait to it, whether it's casting or however you get it to him, it just makes the whole experience better.
It really does. I don't fly fish, or I do it recreationally, but I always tease my captain buddies to take people fly fishing. I always say, well, how many fish did you see today? It's kind of like, Rick, when we were muskie fishing way back up north, you count follows as an experience.
Right.
The fish landed or hooked, and so I'm with you. Anytime you can see a fish that you have an opportunity to catch, and albeit some of these bigger fish, boy, it is really the time to do it. And they are really showing up really well. I mean, multiple reports of captains fishing the beach, with their boats, and then also, guys hitting the beaches, before work, early morning hours. Real simple stuff too, guys. Cast with some top waters right at first light, walk the dog type style bait. Keep it simple, bone colored, white, silvers, chromes, things of that avail. And then just 3.5 inch paddle tail swim baits, 1/4 ounce jig head. I mean, it can't get much easier than that. The only tip I would say is if you're fishing via shore, is to almost kind of make 45-degree angle cast. Okay, so kind of looking ahead as you're walking down the beach, searching for those silhouettes. You want to kind of keep your cast, obviously not necessarily parallel to the shoreline, but on kind of like a 45-degree angle. You don't want to be casting just straight out, almost perpendicular. So just keep that in mind. You want to kind of be casting ahead of you as to not spook these fish, because this water is just gin clear. I mean, it's about as clear as I've seen. We were on some nearshore wrecks and reefs, 42 feet of water. I could see bottom.
Wow.
I mean, it's just, I've never seen it like this in our area. So
wow, it's a lack of rain, I guess.
Yeah, I that's what it's got to be. I mean, we're this time of year usually, it looks like next week we're going to start getting our daily, thunderstorms, and that'll really fire up the backcountry. And obviously it's a little bit darker in the back. I'm kind of talking about some of the stuff on the outside, the sandy beaches and stuff. But be on the lookout next week for, those juvenile tarpon in the back around those small feeder creeks. When it starts to rain on a daily basis every afternoon, that water will flow out of those creeks and right into the mouths. And you can literally stake up right in front of those and it's like a conveyor belt. They're just waiting for a little bait fish to kind of come out of those creeks. And if you time it, you'll be in good shape.
That's a great report. I got one question for you. You talk about casting 45 degrees to the snook. Is this a snook that is moving? You're walking up on him and you're casting past him and bringing it back to him? Or do you want one that's coming to you and you lead him? I always worry about the ones coming toward me that they've already seen me.
I believe that. I kind of like the laid up fish that aren't moving. I think they're way easier to catch. I think it's, as with a lot of things with fishing, we don't often get to see it because of, many different factors. We don't really get to see the bites, but I think a lot of times it's a reaction bite. Their predatory instinct takes over and boom, they have a split second to make a decision, I'm going to eat it. And more often than not, it's just instinct. So I think those laid up fish, if you can cast past them, obviously try to determine which is their tail and which is their mouth.
Right.
You want to be on obviously the right side of that. And that can be a little challenging in low light conditions. But if you can kind of figure that out, cast past them, maybe a good 10 feet, and then just slow, nice, steady winding with the paddle tail, you're going to see the strike. And I think more often than not, I don't see them really following it all that much. It's just a quick thump.
It's
you
a
know,
gulp.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I just really think it comes down to, that reaction bite, if you will. So, they're spooky a little bit, but that's snook fishing. It'll definitely get your heart racing if you see a 3-foot snook laid up on the beach and you have a shot at catching it.
What a great visual. Hey, thank you so much, Steve. We appreciate it each and every week. We're going to check with you next week if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to talk to you.
Steve's report, along with all our action spotters, are brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat, spay, and offshore hybrid boats? You need to check out youngboats.com.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalu marine engine oils. Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalu full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalu marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is the mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to its name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to use second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. Let's come on around the state just a little bit to where we run into Snook Stamp Charters and our buddy Greg Stamper. Greg, are you with us?
I'm with you. I can hear you just fine.
Good deal. You sound like $1 million yourself, my boy.
I've had some rest. I've had some rest this week. It hasn't been that crazy. We had some really weird tides early in the morning this week where the water wasn't going to be moving very much at all. And we compounded that with a hard east-northeast wind. So we had, I'd say, 3-4 days where there was very little moving water from about 6 in the morning till about noon or 1, depending on how far we went into the week, which did make things for us in the back days very difficult.
I see. Yeah, it sounds like that would stir it up and mess it up quite a bit. Have you heard anything from offshore at all?
Yeah, there's been 1 or 2 nights where some of the guys did get out there. They had the opportunity when the wind was calming down to take out there with the following seas and fish some areas that weren't quite as deep as what they would normally like to go for those big groupers and gags and reds and whatnot. But they continue to find a great bite on both the mangrove snapper, mutton snapper. They're starting to have issues with those pesky red snappers again where they got to move out of their way. And I've seen some really nice pictures and a few at the dock being filleted on the yellowtail side of it. So they had 1 or 2 nights they were able to do it, but it's been blowing pretty hard. So unless you were really gung-ho, it really wasn't the thing to do this week. On a different note, that hard wind from the east and northeast does help you if you're fishing on the beaches in like Sanibel, Captiva, North Captiva, all the way up to Pope Grand. I'm sure Ray will probably tell you. There's been a lot of ability because it flattens the water on those beaches when it's coming from the land side to sight fish big snook. And there's been quite a few nice snook caught this week in the northern region of my area and then down probably south. You probably just heard about the ones down south. In my neck of the woods, it's been a little weird. We need that big rain, which looks like it may be happening here today or tonight, to get that water a little less salty and get everything fired up here.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds outstanding. I am claiming that it's going to be calmer next week than it was this week. Hey, I appreciate it so much, Greg. We'll talk with you next week if that's okay.
You got it.
Let's move up the West Coast a little bit to West Central and check in with the mayor of the West Central District, Ray Markham. How are you, buddy?
It's a good thing I'm standing on a ladder because it's starting to get deep.
You are the mayor of the West Central region. How about that?
I'm congratulated. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm telling you. All right, buddy, tell me what's going on with the fishes over there.
Well, today was a real soggy one. We started out the morning with tornado warnings and a squall coming in off the Gulf blowing between 40 and 60 mile-an-hour winds and dumping probably 3-4 inches of rain in about an hour. Other than that, we've had pretty much windy days with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 days. And on those days that kind of slacked off, the guys that got out offshore did pretty doggone well.
Yeah, what are they catching?
Believe it or not, Johnny Walker out of Sarasota doesn't really fish offshore, what I consider offshore all that often, but he does fish nearshore waters, and he got his first sailfish.
How about that? You guys are seeing some sailfish this year.
I'm telling you, I think, and I haven't spoken to him yet, but I think he probably caught it somewhere around 7 Mile Reef or something like that off the coast. So a little bit of everything's going on. Bonita are bouncing around, chewing, lots of bluefish, still a lot of king mackerel. And from what I'm hearing, king mackerel are being caught anywhere from about 20 to 30 feet all the way out to about 120 or 130. So they're scattered out all over the place. And I can only think that the reason for that, even though we did have some really strong east winds that have a tendency to flatten the seas in close to shore, that a lot of these fish ran out in deeper water because I think it's just cooler. Guys that I spoke with that are fishing way off are finding water temperatures between 72 and 74. Nearshore waters are bumped up a little bit higher than that, although today they may have dropped a little from all this rain dumping. But that has a tendency to kind of keep things on an even keel when it drops and stays down a little bit because we're still a little bit early for some of the species that we're seeing. Inshore guys are tarpon fishing. Some of them are a little bit let down, primarily because early mornings when they're getting out, the weather seems to be pretty decent. They can stand up on the boat without falling down too much. And by the time mid-afternoon folks are around, the wind picks up and things kind of go to pot. Fish have a tendency to not show or just basically stick their nose west and head out. But other than that, the rest of the inshore stuff is doing pretty doggone good. There's still some big redfish inside Tampa Bay. I'm hearing about some big trout being caught up in Clearwater, Dunedin, Palm Harbor area. And the guys down in Sarasota are just whacking the snot out of snook. So everything's kind of popping off and nothing really to complain about as long as we can get some decent weather and get out. But I will say this about that. Again, I had a day this week that I went looking for a boat ramp to be able to launch and park. There were so many trailers parked, there was no more room to park in 3 different boat ramps that I looked at. It's really crowded out there.
Well, a lot of people, Ray, that's what they've been able to do. And I'm thankful that they've had boats and a lot of people have been able to get out that didn't have any other way to get out.
Here's an interesting thing. I know there is, and I think it's just for Pinellas County. I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's just Pinellas County. There is a website that you can go to that documents every single beach and the status of that beach. So if you're looking to go to the beach, you click on that and it tells you what percentage of the beach is left open if it's open, or if it's been closed because there are too many people and they can't take any more. A lot of that also has to do with parking. For instance, like in Paso Robles, where they have limited parking, once the parking spaces are full, boom, they're cutting the people off and turning them around, sending them somewhere else. But it is crowded and people are just, they're just wanting to get out.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid we're coming up on, say, boating week. With Memorial Day weekend coming on, it's usually the heaviest traffic boating period of the year.
Yep.
And there is so much going on. I can't even imagine it being more crowded on the water than it already is. Please, everybody, be careful.
You're about to find out. That's for sure. It's right around the corner. Those are great tips, and people do need to be ever so mindful. Keep your head on a swivel, as Jim Ross said earlier, because there's boats all around you, whether you can see them or not, with a quick glance. And our fishing will probably be a little tougher this weekend because of the number of boats. But we'll get back to it in no time.
Well, and also make sure if there's people drinking on the boat that there is a designated driver so that nobody gets in trouble. So,
amen to that. If they're drinking on the boat, it'll be somebody's boat other than mine. All right, Cap,
yeah, buddy.
we appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
All righty, Ricky. We'll catch you later, bud.
Thank you, Ray.
You bet.
Now, why don't we go to where boats on the water are never a problem? The lovely, sleepy little town of Homosassa, where Mayor is sitting in his chair. Mayor Tony has got everything set up and ready to go. Are you with us, Cap?
I'm right here, downtown Homosassa, and we got a good bath today, so it's all cleaned out, ready for the action.
Man, I tell you what, there's been some storms in Florida today. There ain't no doubt about that. Tell me how your fishing's been.
Well, for all the inshore folks right now, the trout bite is really good in about 8 foot to 10 foot of water. Look for that broken bottom, yellow patches. Then use a mirror lure, Little Johns and watermelon red flake, and also the DOA and the Glow Gold Rush Cal Shads bouncing near the bottom. The cool thing catching keeper trout, too, is there's a lot of sea bass and a lot of action mixed in. There's bluefish, Spanish mackerel, ladyfish, jack crevalle, lizardfish, short groupers. I mean, just about everything, and possibly that keeper cobia coming through.
You know what? Too many people throw back those lizardfish. You know what you need to do with those lizardfish?
No.
You put a hook in one of those lizardfish and throw it in front of a cobia and see how fast he grabs it.
Yeah, they are a great bait, and I'm glad you brought it up there. And, you know, as far as red fishing goes, the redfish bite's really good here on the Big Bend. Catch them on pinfish, but I tell you what, sometimes cut lizardfish, some reason they seek that thing out. It's like cutting up a hot dog. It ain't messy. Use that for your cut bait.
Yep. I'll bet you, looking at those things, if they got big enough, I bet you they'd be mighty tasty, too. That's some white meat.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I always say that. And also, if they got big enough to be could jump in the boat to eat you, they probably would.
And just for the record, before we get off of this subject, I have never dated a girl as ugly as a lizardfish.
No, neither have I. They've got a whole bunch of different names and stuff, but I do know Captain Southme swore to me one time on a fishing trip that he had the world record lizardfish, and I told Cap Ray, I said, you know, that's pretty cool, but I don't know if I want my names in the book for that one.
When we are done with this conversation tonight, William Tony, I will send you a picture. I will send you a picture that will settle the toadfish question forever. Okay?
You got it.
If somebody says, I saw a toadfish so big, here's what's going to go into your mind. Not as big as Rick's toadfish. That's exactly what you're going to think. All right. What's going on besides trout and lizardfish?
Right. Besides the trout and the lizardfish, you know, there's been a good offshore bite. A lot of different anglers off in our area are getting some nice cobia. Starting out there in deeper water for us, you know, 1 foot per mile here on the Big Bend, but about that 15-foot to 30-foot range, high-profile rocks. The wrecks, if you got them, the barge canal area, all along those channel markers are good spots to look for them. A live pinfish, even a big hoagie. You know, you can throw that in there. They like to eat them. Or if you got that lizardfish from catching your trout, then going out for the cobia. Now, amberjack out in about the 40 to 60-foot range. I've seen a couple red grouper come in, not a whole lot, but we're getting very close to our gag grouper season just around the corner.
When does it open up for you?
June 1st. It ain't far.
You can see it from here, can't you?
Absolutely. And you know what's crazy? This past week, I've had anglers on 10-pound Power Pro trout fishing catch 24 and 26-inch grouper in rocks that are out in 8 and 10 foot of water. Now, here's the problem with that. Even though we caught them, you know, and they got to be turned back. When June 1st comes around, good luck for that ever repeating again.
Yeah,
the memo is out. They're gone, man. They're heading west.
First day of deer season is what that is, Cap.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, William, that's a great report. I look forward to hearing about it when that grouper season opens. It certainly won't be long now. Has your charter business come back strong?
It's been very good. In fact, you know, it's I think a lot to do with people. That's one of the things they can do during, you know, the social distancing and getting out of the house and being in the fresh air and everything. But generally, you know, our good fishing months here along the Big Bend are, you know, March, April, and May, and then it starts getting warm in June. But then we got the tarpon coming through now too. And then you got scalloping that kind of feeds you through the summer. And then, when it cools back down, September, October, November are very good also.
I love me some scalloping. One more quick question. Has baby girl Tony caught anything yet?
Not yet. The only thing she's caught are some clean diapers. I've got it down to a science. You go to bed around 10:30, and around 3:00, Mama does that deal. And then when I get up to go to work, probably around 5:30, 6:00, I do the second deal and place the little baby girl right there with Mama, and off to work I go. And so things are getting stabilized, but slowly but surely, one day that 8-hour sleep will come back to me.
All right, real quick, let me tell you one thing. When you start your day off changing the baby girl's dirty diaper, you smell nothing worse the whole rest of the day. I promise. You got your day in the bag at that point, William.
Absolutely. I can wipe my dirty, fishy hands all over my pants, and I'll never get yelled at again.
Won't mean a thing. Cap, we look forward to talking with you next week. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a great week.
You too. Our thanks to Captain William Toney, who took a few minutes from diaper duty to give us a good fishing report. I know one thing. Hey, Kevin, you think he's ready to sneak out of the house to go fishing in the morning?
Oh, shoot, yeah. Anything to get away from diapers.
You don't think that maybe once or twice he sort of thought that maybe there was something in there, but he snuck out anyway, do you?
The longer I've been away from having my children, the more I appreciate guys that do, because that means I don't.
Hey, do they speak Spanish in Mexico Beach, or is that still part of America?
That's still part of the South. Mexico
okay.
Beach is also referred to as Lower Georgia and Lower Alabama.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know what you mean there. And, man, I love that lifestyle. I have spent a few vacations at Mexico Beach, and I love it dearly. Give me a fishing report.
Well, fishing's been really good. We had a few trips this last week, and the vermilions are just absolutely go-to. They are busting out of the water. We've loaded up some trips. We've got a few king mackerel. They're still a little bit on the slow side, not a lot of them being caught. And it seems like our cobia have gone away as fast as they came. So don't know what to say there. Amberjack, they are going good. I know there's a lot of guys down in the south part of the state that don't care for AJs, but up here they do. And nothing much better than either black and amberjack or a smoked amberjack. But we've done well. I mean, we got a bunch of banded rudderfish yesterday on our trip, and that first time in a while I've gotten any of those. It's been good. We've got black snapper, we've gotten lanes. It's been quite a mixed bag, but a lot of good fishing. And on the inshore side of things, we're getting triple tail fishing still pretty good up here right now. I'm seeing a few of those come across the dock, boats that kind of specialize in those. But no cobia in about a week. I don't know if they've either swung by us real fast or if it was a very small run this year.
It was not a great run on the east side. I can promise you. Seems like there's been 20 boats for every manta ray and 35 boats for every cobia.
Oh, I'd believe that in a heartbeat. I mean, it's like even more exaggerated here as far as cobia and per boat go.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. We're talking about boats in Mexico Beach. What's a big crowd over there? 10 boats?
You would be surprised, Captain Rick.
Yeah?
I bet Saturday there was probably, I would guess, 70 boat trailers in the parking lot of Mexico Beach.
Wow. Wow. Well, I tell you what, these last few weeks, we've had more boats on the water. I'm going to go out and say, Kevin, in any time in our history, I've never seen so many. There are guys in Jacksonville that are parking, get this, 1.5 miles and walking back to the ramp.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's that bad. It's just gotten crazy. But it sounds like your fishing's holding up well.
Fishing's doing great. We're about 2 weeks from the red snapper open there. And I tell you what, we threw back probably a half a dozen red snapper, around 15 pounds this weekend. So they're here, and they are ready to bust wide open as soon as we can legally keep them.
I know your guys are going to be ready to catch them. Now, that happens for you June 1st, right?
That happens for me June 1st. For rec guys, it happens June the 11th.
Yep. How many days in June have you got booked?
Right now, I think I'm about 15 days booked, so that gives me 15 days available at this point in time. We take a day off a week for maintenance and recoup, so, we still got plenty of days available. July is still wide open if these guys want to come up. And I got a really good deal. I just had, for our illustrious government in charge not making a decision on vacation rentals, I now have 3 open days for Memorial Day weekend.
How
So
about
if you
that?
guys want to come up, you guys want to come up and go fishing, kcsportfishing.com. Get in touch with me. I'll make you a deal for a weekend day this Memorial Day weekend. I got plenty of days open for snapper season.
That's fantastic, Kevin. That's fantastic. Guys that have been Jones, and I know all these East Side guys, and it looks like there will be I will repeat again, no red snapper season on the East Side at all this year. They need to hop in the car and drive over to Mexico Beach and talk with our buddy Kevin. Kevin, thank you so much. We look forward to your reports every week.
Hey, Captain Rick, great to talk to all you guys every week. I really enjoy it.
We'll talk to you next week, Kevin. Thank you. Well, that wraps up what's been a busy week around the state of Florida for fishermen this week. They've been dodging wind, they've been dodging rain showers, but the fish have really cooperated pretty well. I was really taken by the snook in Southwest Florida and how easy and great it's been for those guys. Seeing the bottom in 40 feet of water, that's got to make that walk in the beach at Sanibel just a fantastic experience watching those laid up fish. And I couldn't get over Captain John Earhart's report of big Cubera snapper, some of them 25 pounds and up, in the river in St. Lucie. That I don't remember hearing that before. That's certainly because we're doing such a much better job of protecting the snapper species in general. Other than that, sounds like the trolling was a little tough. Not a lot of sailfish this week. There were a few mahi. Plenty of mahi up in northeast Florida, but unfortunately, they're 70 miles offshore and it's been too rough to get there. But I know one thing. I've enjoyed every minute of our trip around the state. Gosh, I hope you enjoy the Florida Sportsman Action Spotter podcast. If you do, please subscribe. We're going to be brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara, Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat spay and offshore hybrid boats? You want to check out youngboats.com. For Florida Sportsman Magazine, I'm Captain Rick Riles. Until next week, I'll see you on the rip.